oxide is a basic oxide and silicon dioxide is an acidic oxide. I gave all this in points to remember. Points to remember is not to forget them any time when you are in contact with chemistry. My dear, if you throw them in a dustbin, not virtually, but practically, you don't consider them, you're also throwing your future grades along with it. You have got 60 now, from today till today, you have 60 points to remember on metals. The last question, name the waste gases, was correctly answered by most of you. They were main were carbon monoxide, lesser, but carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen. Since none of you wrote sulfur dioxide, remember one of the impurity present in hematite is of sulfur, and it is not removed as we put the ore in the blast furnace, not the purified iron 3 oxide. So this sulfur get a chance to get oxidized to sulfur dioxide and appear as an exhaust gas. So if I haven't written sulfur dioxide in points to remember, please make sure you can write it in your notes. So young friends, I will not carry discussion over this homework anymore, so I'm not going to unmute you. I'll start the lecture of today. Now I'll bring the questions, the points to remember of today on the screen, and you will focus on them, listen to my explanations, then I'll unmute you and will ask questions related to my explanations. And this is the last lecture on section 10 of metals. So as soon as points to remember of today, that is 19th of June, appear on the screen, my young friends, get focused, listen carefully, keep the questions in your mind. Whenever I say electricity went off, please remember the answer. Electricity went off and my internet. We are on the last step of section of metals, and these points to remember I've specially designed on frequently asked questions in the exam along with their answers. So you get a greater feel that the exams for grade 11 are always nearby. This is called productive learning, for especially for grade 11 students in any subject. So this time I have the last 10 points to remember for metals. I've designed them in the form of question answers, which are which you will see frequently occur in your MCQs or in your theory paper or your ATP paper. So you'll get a feel that how to handle chemistry for your O-level final examination and school examinations. So students who are here and those who have left the scenario of online teaching, please, if you can inform your friends, because electricity was not there, now I'm on. So my first question, if you all focus on the screen, is what is rusting of iron? Explained with a word or formula equation. My dear students, now the concept should be in your mind. Other than the definition of rusting which is given in the answer, which says rusting is a chemical process, obviously, in which the reactants are iron, atmospheric air which contain oxygen, that is oxygen part of the air, and moisture present in the atmosphere, that is water. So the word equation is iron plus oxygen coming from the earth and water coming from as moisture from the air, or any other way. When they react together, they form one single compound which is hydrated. By hydrated, I mean carry water of crystallization, and that is iron 3 oxide, Fe2O3 dot XH2O. So the formula of rust is Fe2O3 dot means connection of X means any number of water molecules. So this is what you get, a chemical aspect of rusting. Now many students ask, Miss Siddiqui, only iron rust? No, many metals rust, such as copper. Many metals rust, those which cannot form a protective coating over themselves. And remember, my dear students, points to remember does not carry all explanations. You have to take help of your textbook and my explanations. So you may write some points if you want to on your copies or listen carefully. Carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere triggers rusting, accelerates a stimulus for the process of rusting. So when copper starts rusting and it becomes blackish, the layer of rust is not copper 2 oxide, but it's copper sulfide, because the sulfur dioxide is also there in the atmosphere. So my dear students, but usually we use the word rusting for iron or steel when they get rusted. Now, all the methods, the whole world industry is using various methods to prevent rusting of iron or steel. But the usual methods which are used to prevent rusting come in my second question: how to prevent rusting. Now, you all are students of chemistry, and it means you are students of logic. You know that any factor which causes the chemical process, if not present, the process will be halted. If all the factors are not present, or even if one of the all factors are not present, the process will halt. This is logic. So young friends, there are two factors which are causing rusting of iron or steel. That is moisture, water, and air, that is oxygen part of air. If one of them or both of them are prevented to come in contact with your iron or steel object, the rusting process is inhibited. So young friends, the usual factors which cause rusting, the usual methods which are used for prevention of rusting, are: number one, painting, galvanizing, sacrificial protection, forming a thin film of grease or oil on those parts of iron or steel in a machine which are continuously moving, or giving a film of enamel on iron or steel objects, which can be used for food, to preserve or to put food in those containers. Now, if you focus on these 4 or 5 methods of rusting, you will see that all these methods prevent the exposure of iron or steel towards air and moisture. Painting, as long as the substance is painted, iron will not be exposed. Galvanizing, I'm going to explain it to you in my next point. Sacrificial protection, I'm going to explain you in my next points to remember. Thin film of grease or oils is usually put on those parts of the machinery which are continuously moving and can get rusted. So when it's a temporary prevention, but it prevents them to get rusted. Now question comes in the mind of a student. Okay, we understand the logic behind prevention methods, but are there some metals which do not need all these methods to be prevented from rusting, to be prevented from the attack of oxygen and moisture of the air or water, whatever source it comes from? Yes. Aluminium is an outstanding example. It forms a protective coat over it of aluminum oxide. Just visualize a piece of aluminum or anything of aluminum or aluminum alloy. The topmost atoms of it get oxidized, or you may say get rusted into aluminum oxide. Now, this aluminum oxide, unlike rust, which is flaky and of rust of iron, iron 3 oxide, which is orange brown flaky substance and can be removed. This layer of aluminum oxide is permanent on aluminum and is non-porous. That is, does not allow more oxygen of the air and moisture or water to come in contact with the lower layers of aluminum. So they remain protected by this aluminum oxide layer. Unlike your iron, which gets a layer of hydrated iron 3 oxide on it, that's rust, orange brown flaky powder, it can be removed. The lower layers will get rusted, and if it is continuous, if we don't use any method of prevention of rusting, all the iron will be eaten up, and you have to install a new gate in front of your house if it gets eaten up by the rusting process. If you're so careless, you don't get it painted. My dear students, I still have to speak a little bit more on rusting. So have patience before I move to point number 4. A question was asked by me, and I asked the students when they were in 3D, that is in life, young friends, what's the difference between burning and rusting? Now you all start thinking of the differences. And my student within me is answering. See if your answers are the same or not. Both burning and rusting requires oxygen, that is air. But rusting requires moisture and burning does not require oxygen. Water. When something burns, you throw water over it so that the flame extinguishes. So rusting and burning are similar because both of them are oxidation processes, redox processes, but burning does not require moisture, rusting requires. Number 2, burning is a rapid process. Am I right? So don't burn each other's feelings or heart by your bad words. So my dear students, this was just a philosophy behind burning. So burning is a rapid process, rusting is a slow process. And the third, very important difference which most of you are not focused on it, I can visualize. Both of these chemical processes, they are not physical, chemical processes. They are exothermic reactions. Heat energy is released. But in burning, a large amount of heat energy, and in rusting, lesser amount. Otherwise, the rusted substances will become very hot to touch. Very slow exothermic process. Now, young friends, I'm unmuting you. If you have any question, raise your hand vis-a-vis whatever I've explained. And then I'll move ahead with point 4. Raise your hand if you have any question till point 3, which I've explained. Because then I'll move to point 4 and ahead. Any question, please raise your hand. Do I see a student? So it means all of you have understood, whoever is present. You have understood rusting methods of prevention. Okay, fine. I will again mute you all so you may listen to point 4 and 5 carefully. What is galvanizing? Now, galvanizing, as the definition sometimes you're asked in the exam, I have given in my point, is a thin coating of zinc, usually, sometimes tin and chromium also, but I'll tell you the difference. Galvanizing is a thin coating of zinc on iron or steel. You all know what is steel, my dear, now, which prevents it from rusting. And this layer of zinc can be applied on the object of iron or steel either by electrolysis or by spraying molten zinc on that object, or dipping the article or object into molten zinc or tin or chromium. Now, young friends have understood that galvanizing is also used a word used in your English language. Ask Mr. Rizwana or any Sadasgar when you say to some that I galvanize. Galvanizing is used in English literature, a word for common language. But here we are talking chemistry. So galvanizing, when you're asked to define, you'll say it's a thin film or coating of zinc, sometimes tin or chromium, on an object of iron or steel, so to prevent rusting. And how is it done industrially? Either through electrolysis or through spraying the molten metals which I have named, or dipping the object of steel or iron into these named molten iron. So a film is created. Now, my dear students would ask me, I'm so sure, that what does these films do? That is, they prevent iron from getting rust. Now, if the metal which is coated over iron is less reactive than iron, like tin, it will prevent iron from rusting as long as the coat is there. But as soon, but as soon as this thin layer is scratched or removed, the rusting of iron will start, because tin is less reactive than iron, and iron will start behaving like an anode, and tin will start behaving like a cathode. So tin anode always get eaten up. But if we coat it with zinc, now you know reactivity series, and zinc is more reactive than iron. Even a scratch on that dustbin which is coated with zinc, if that zinc is removed from that part of the dustbin, the iron below will not get rusted. Why? Because iron being less reactive than zinc, zinc will first be corroded, and then iron will start getting corroded. So here iron will behave as a cathode and zinc will behave as anode. You all should know electrolysis. Anode get corroded. Remember, active anodes get corroded and dissolved. They have to be replaced the way we did it in copper plating and all that earlier in grade 10. So young friends, galvanizing is a good process of protection of iron and steel objects from rusting. Now comes sacrificial protection. From last, I have been teaching at Lakas from the last 26, 27 years. And I always, when I explain this process, sacrificial protection, I always give a same example analogy, and I'll give you again before I give you and do listen it to you. It will bring you nearer to your parents. This explanation of mine will bring you nearer to your parents, number one. Number two, nearer to your well-wishers, like your school, your teachers, your admin, and all of us who are doing this job of online with maximum sincerity. My dear students, I love the word sacrifice, because this word was was a role model. It became a role model when we talk of Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. Today is Friday, so I have to give a little sermon also. Sacrificial, that is, you're sacrificing yourself to protect someone. The way your parents, your mother and father, sacrifice their belongings, their peace of mind for you people, so that you remain protected from the worldly disasters and hazards. The way Miss Sadiki is trying to, not that I'm doing a favor, but I'm really sacrificing that I want every one of you to understand. I sit at night and write these points to remember, get them typed, and try to be sincere with each and every one of you to protect you from the coming exams or coming new situations. Likewise, my dear students, now let's come to the point, that is, when iron or steel is protected through sacrificing of a more reactive metal. So this is the main difference between galvanizing and sacrificial protection. In sacrificial protection, there's no film or coating given to iron or steel, but blocks or strips of zinc or magnesium, not sodium because it will create explosions, magnesium or zinc are placed with the help of wires connected on the underground pipes, railway tracks, under the ships, where there's so much exposure of water and dissolved air, oxygen. And what happens that these more reactive metal like zinc or magnesium will corrode first and then the iron. A smart question was asked by a student, Mr. Diki, since we are not filming it, we are not giving a coating, so there'll be some pieces, some areas of iron or zinc which will be exposed to air and moisture because we are placing blocks, or they may be separated from each other a little, or strips. My answer was, and which is the answer? The answer, iron will not get corroded. Competition will occur between magnesium blocks or zinc blocks and iron. They will first react with oxygen and moisture of the air, then iron. And when these blocks get corroded or strips get corroded, they are replaced. And there's an industrial or there's a mechanical method to replace them. You can read the textbooks. So young friends, you see the difference between sacrificial protection of iron with zinc or magnesium or galvanizing with zinc. In both cases, the iron is acting as cathode, and zinc and magnesium are acting as anode. They get corroded first. But the difference is there you put a thin film, here you need stronger protection. So magnesium and zinc get sacrificed, get corroded. I hope you have understood my analogy which I gave you in the earlier start. In the start of this point 5, they get corroded or sacrificed and protects iron in turn. So these two methods are very important industrially, other than painting and putting a film of grease and oil or putting tar. Tar means look, Urdu mein look kehte hain, kale rang ki hoti hai. This is a very permanent, this is usually put under the ship or on various places where you need long time prevention. Or enameling, there was a time when we were young, the stainless steel was not very common. So the pots, dekchiyan वगैरह जो होती थी, these steel pots used to get enameled. They get shiny and they remain, the utensils never got rusted. Enameling, ENAMLING, enamel. So these are different methods of prevention of rusting. Now I'm going to unmute you and then I'll start with point 6. So if you have any question, please raise your hand, whatever I have explained today till point 5. Anyone has a question, please raise your hand. I hope you have listened carefully and you have been focused on the screen. And these questions have repeatedly come, my dear students, in the exam. Yes, yes, Mohdin Khan, my dear child, बेटा बोलिए, ऊंचा बोलना है मेरी तरह. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. वालेकुम सलाम.
वैसे sacrificial protection है, उसके अंदर कहते हैं कुछ टाइम पीरियड के बाद वो आयरन भी फिर बाद में रस्ट कर जाता है.
हाँ जी बेटा, as soon as the magnesium blocks and zinc strips get corroded, that is eaten up, then iron will start rusting. That is why we say there's a mechanical method to replace more blocks and strips again, wherever we have placed them, either on railway tracks, under the ships, or underground pipes. Is it clear? मोदिन समझ आ गया बेटा? ठीक है जी बच्चे, ठीक है, गुड, शाबाश बेटा. जो टाइम अपना लगा रहे हो 1 घंटा, इससे फायदा उठाओ. Don't feel hesitant asking questions. I am there for you for 1 hour, 1-to-1 as well. This question has come which Modin has asked in MCQs. So Modin is smart boy. Okay, young friend, any question, raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll move to point 6. Okay, I am muting you again. We'll move ahead with point 6. Very important point. also a part of biology, but I know most of you are, maybe you are biology students or not. Exam question carries usually 2 marks. What do you mean by the term biodegradable? Now, my dear students, before I go to the definition which is given in front of you, I would like to divide this word into 2 halves. Bio, which means life. Degradable means when you break something, when something loses its presence, breaks down. As when we leave this world, the dead bodies are biodegradable, that except bone which turns into powder and remains there, everything is decomposed. So the word biodegradable means when a substance is decomposed or broken down, which is degradable, meaning by the action of natural decomposers, that is bio. Bio means life. What life? Fungus, bacteria, etc. Microorganisms, natural decomposers. So all those substances around you, which you don't use, which are useless, can be classified as biodegradable, and opposite of this is non-biodegradable. So sometimes you're asked to define non-biodegradable. It's very easy to define. That's why I have not put it in the points to remember. It's opposite. The definition is opposite. Substances which cannot be decomposed or broken down by the action of natural decomposers. So young friends, this world, if you want to divide it into 2 halves, again, under these 2 terms, you can. Some substances around you are biodegradable, some are non-biodegradable. So my young friends can read textbooks and go into the list of those substances. Now, we as students of chemistry is the subject of non-living substances. We are more bothered with non-living substances which are non-biodegradable, and we don't want to use them anymore. So it means they will add to our solid litter and fill the landfills, overflow the landfill, sorry. And if we burn them, they will release poisonous gases to the atmosphere, or whatever method we get rid of them. So for them, the best way is to recycle them. Recycle means, according to definition, point 7, the objects made of metal, since we are talking of metals or plastics or anything which is not biodegradable, can be recycled, that is used again. Because in case of metal, why do we need to recycle? It's a finite source. It will save natural resource of ores. That's सारी उम्र तो हमें सोना और चांदी नहीं मिलना ना. The time will come when the earth will say, man, it's enough is enough. You have taken enough out of me. Nothing is left. So we need to recycle our gold jewelry and make it into a fresh it up, or we need to recycle our tins, Pepsi cans, and they need to be recycled. So I hope likewise any non-living substance which is not biodegradable should be recycled. Otherwise it will overflow the landfills. जाके जब डालते हैं कूड़ा करकट, or if you burn them in incinerators, they will release poisonous gases to the atmosphere. So my dear students, my very next point, that is point 8, on which questions are asked, what are the advantages and disadvantages of recycling? The advantages are to avoid overfilling of landfills by solid litter, to reuse material which comes from finite source, to avoid atmospheric pollution by burning the solid, there's a spelling mistake, my dear, SOLID, so don't, it's human error. By burning the solid litter, I have corrected it, which is non-biodegradable, and it will release poisonous gases in the atmosphere. These are many advantages. There may be many more if you start thinking, right? The only disadvantage of recycling is that it's usually expensive, especially when you have to transport the solid litter to the recycling areas. दूर होते recycling areas, कूड़ा करकट पूरे शहर का जमा करके non biodegradable उसको अलग किया जाता है, उसमें यूजफुल चीजों को रिसाइकल किया जाता है. किस तरह recycle? How is it recycled? It's an industrial process, detailed. Don't think that it is only melted and changed into a tin can is changed into a small plate. No, various processes are handled industrially to use the raw material which is present in the solid litter, non-biodegradable, and recycled. So young friends, it's a very detailed topic. You can go into details of it if you're interested, if you want to be a recycled engineer in that area. You can read textbooks, but I have only served you what is required for ordinary level. You got the definition of recycling, you knew its importance and its main disadvantage. Only one disadvantage, which is expensive process, especially when we have to carry transportation process. Otherwise, all advantages of recycling. Likewise, when we'll study plastics, when we go to last section of the syllabus, organic chemistry, there you see that plastics mostly are non-biodegradable. Some of them are biodegradable now and can even be dissolved into certain solvents and recycled. And that is why the government of today in Pakistan has stopped us to use plastic bags, because they can't be recycled and they add to solid litter. And only way you get rid of them is they can't even be recycled, so they are incinerated, burn kiए. Incineration का मतलब है burn करना. Incinerators are very big industrialized setups where substances are directly burned and exhaust gases are poisonous. So young friends, if you have any question on point 7 and 8, please do ask me. I am unmuting you. So raise up your hands. I'm unmuting you. Raise your hands. Unmuted. Raise your hands if you have a question, please. Please raise your hand if you have any question on point 7 and 8. Any question on point 7 and 8? Wake up, my dear students. 11D, don't be shy. You have to get used to me now for 1 year. I know you were taught by someone else in 9th and 10th. My 11B and 11C are quite used to me, and I think they are taking advantage. I hope so. I'm working hard. Please work hard along with me. Any question, please raise your hand on point 7 and 8, which I've explained on recycling and biodegradable. Otherwise, read textbooks. I'm not going into all details. I'm going into maximum details required for O level. But you move ahead with your textbooks. Now I move ahead. I'm again muting you. Now I'll move ahead on point 9 and 10. Now here, there are two questions which I have not answered. And they are: show with the help of an experiment how air and water both are required for rusting. And number 10 was: compare electroplating, galvanizing, and sacrificial protection of iron. I know I can open you up, unmute you, and ask you to, one of you, explain these answers, but here I will ask my student within me to answer them, because very soon next lecture will contain an oral test and not written, a viva. I will be orally asking you questions and grading you, which I'll let you know at the end of this explanation. Now let me give you, now my good student within me, XYZ, is answering question number 9. And I'm going to explain you how to explain with the help of an experiment that both air and water are required for rusting. Take 3 test tubes. A good student answers like that. Take 3 test tubes. In 3 of them, put iron or steel nails, say 3 iron or steel nails in each of the test tube. They should be free from dust. Now in 3 test tube, in the test tube number 1, put water and do not cover it with a stopper. Let water and air get in contact with the nails, Nails, iron nails or steel nails. Now in test tube 2, put water. In test tube 2, do not put water and put a cotton plug, and on the top of it, do not put water, and on the top of the nails place some drying agent like calcium chloride, and let the stopper be not there. That is, now in second test tube you're allowing dry air to enter or come in contact with nails and no water, because we have placed over the nails a drying agent like calcium chloride, which will absorb the moisture of the air. In the third test tube, put iron nails and make sure that it is airtight. No air is there and no moisture is there. You will see that in the first test tube result, the rusting will occur because you have allowed both the factors to come in contact with it. In the second test tube, you have allowed air but not moisture to come in contact. And in the third test tube, you have allowed, since they were dipped in water but not air was not allowed, it's airtight. You have allowed water but not air to come in contact. So there will be rusting only in the first test tube. There will be rusting, and there will be no rusting in the second and third test tube, because you have not allowed one of the factor. In the first case, the moisture, and the second case, the air, oxygen, to come in contact with the nails. I hope you have understood. Now, question number 10, this question has come repeatedly: electroplating, galvanizing, and sacrificial protection of iron. Sometimes carrying 3 marks, sometimes carrying 6, or sometimes coming in the MCQs. Electroplating, remember, I'm going to repeat, electroplating is the covering of a metal over another metal with the help of electricity, direct current, through the process known as electrolysis. And in this, the metal which is to be plated over an object of metal or alloy should not necessarily be more reactive. It can be less reactive. That is, we plate iron with copper, or we plate steel spoons with gold. So objective of electroplating is not only to prevent rusting, which is minor, but it is to enhance the physical properties such as appearance of the substance getting electroplated. Galvanizing, I have explained you. That is dipping a metal with zinc. Here, the main objective is to prevent from rusting. And number 2 object is, obviously, you can make it more attractive, like electroplating if you galvanize with chromium, which is a very silver, shiny metal. But here, I have already discussed the snag. If you galvanize with zinc, the iron object will, or steel object will not get rusted until all the film is removed, coating is removed. But when you galvanize with chromium or tin, which are less reactive than iron, then obviously the iron will start rusting as soon as the film or coating get corroded, slightly corroded even. So see the difference between electroplating and galvanizing. Likewise, sacrificial protection, I've just recently explained you. Here the main objective only is to prevent from rusting, not to enhance the appearance. The appearance will become bad because when you put blocks and strips on railway tracks and well, underground pipes are not visible, neither the underneath of the ship, but still its main objective is to protect iron from rusting. Now, my dear students, I am unmuting you. You can ask me any question, because after that I have to discuss something very important. So I'm unmuting. Please raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have any question on experiment number 9, which I've explained you, or any experiment to prove air and water are required for rusting. You can read the textbooks. And question number 10, which is usually come an analytical question where you are asked to compare some processes. You get ready and smart in answering questions. So young friends, if you have any question, please raise your hand before I discuss the homework with you of which you have to prepare for Monday. Any question, please? Raise your hand. Abdullah Akil, yes. Abdullah Akil, you don't do any homework. Beta
With
point
that,
four, the film of what?
grease
Oil?
or oil on a, yes.
ऑयल एंड ग्रीस बेटा आपने
Yes.
कभी देखा होगा ना कि जब आपके कभी कहीं जैसे कोई कोई आपका जो व्हीकल है जैसे आपकी मोटरसाइकिल है उसकी चेन में आप देखते हैं रस्ट लग रहा है और या मूवमेंट जहाँ जिस चीज में ज्यादा हो रही है चेन में या कोई भी मूविंग उसमें आप थोड़ा सा ऑयलिंग नहीं करते ऑयलिंग और ग्रीस लगा देते हैं ग्रीस इज सॉलिड लगाते हैं ना
Yes.
जी तो बेटा उसका मकसद ये होता है कि एक तो मूवमेंट आसान हो जाती है और नंबर 2 रस्ट नहीं देखो रस्ट जो है ना वो मूवमेंट को प्रिवेंट करता है ड्राई होता है ना फ्लेकी ब्राउन पाउडर तो ये इसका ये है समझ आ गया
जी मिस
ओके की बेटा होमवर्क बिल्कुल नहीं करते मेरे बच्चे
नहीं मिस मैं आज इंशाल्लाह सारे
यार ये कोई आज का तो होमवर्क है ही ओरल तो मैं पिछले होमवर्क नहीं किए हुए
नहीं मिस पहले का भी
नो मिस ना करें सदीकी तुमसे ज्यादा मेहनत कर रही हैं दाऊद सईद माय डियर व्हाट क्वेश्चन यू हैव
Miss, I wanted to ask that you haven't marked any assignment except the first one.
Well, whatever you have sent them on time, I've checked. And before I take the average of the assignments of metal, inshallah, this week, that is the next week coming, I will see that if you have done it, I give you one more chance to complete them.
Miss, I've done all my assignments on time.
They must be in my record. I'm very regular if I've graded them. Only one assignment I have not graded, but I've checked that I discussed the reason with you. But I have the students who have done them out of the assignments. Abdul Rafi, yes, you have a question, my dear.
Can you repeat the point 9?
Point 9 का जो experiment था ना
जी मिस उसके अंदर वो कौन से वाले के अंदर खाली रस्टिंग होगी टेस्ट ट्यूब के अंदर
रस्टिंग होगी जिसमें दोनों चीजें मौजूद होंगी वाटर और एयर ऑक्सीजन यानी कि जिसमें आपने नेल्स को यू हैव डिप देम इन वाटर एंड यू हैव नॉट स्टॉपर्ड द टेस्ट ट्यूब दैट इज एयर इज आल्सो एंटरिंग गॉट इट
और वो ड्राइंग एजेंट वाला था उसके अंदर नहीं होगी
बेटा जो सेकंड वाली थी ना उसमें हमने क्या किया था हमने एयर को जाने दिया था और वाटर नहीं डाला था और एयर में भी मॉइस्चर होता है तो हमने nails के ऊपर we put a drying agent so that air first will get dry and then come in contact with nails so it will not rust because the water was not there in the third we let हमने nails को पानी में डाल दिया था but we did not let air to come in either you can make the test tube you will prevent air coming in it airtight या आप उसके ऊपर ऑयल डाल दें film of oil over water air will not go into the nails right तो फिर भी आपकी रस्टिंग नहीं होगी समझ आ गया my dear
जी
clear
yes
is this clear okay fine now young friends I'm going to not unmute you but I'm going to discuss the homework of for Monday so if you just focus I'm bringing it on the screen and this is a unique homework because this will and it says go through at least go through means either writing or read them with your marking keys in front at least 5 year past papers of theory जो पिछले 5 साल के लास्ट 5 साल के है ना 2019 18 17 16 and 15 both sessions just go through past papers of theory multiple choice and ATP and solve questions related to section 9 that is of syllabus that is metals इससे आपको बेटा आपका कॉन्फिडेंस और आपने पॉइंट्स टू रिमेंबर सामने रखने हैं अपने 60 पॉइंट्स आपके पास अब आ गए हैं 66 you can make a little booklet out of them notes you either download them through a printer or you handwriting से कॉपी करें आपके पास होने चाहिए सामने तो उनकी मदद से आप देखेंगे कि जो MCQs के पेपर्स हैं there are at least 2 to 3 questions given related to section of metals I am so sure with the help of Almighty Allah and the points to remember, you'll be able to solve them. Likewise, in theory paper, I have given you enough practice also in the form of homework. still go through and read them and marking की देखें, मतलब सर एंजॉय करें कि यार कुछ तो हमने फ़ायदा हुआ है केमिस्ट्री की क्लास लेने का। ये तो सिर्फ मिस सदीकी का हमने, तैमूर मियाँ अगर मौजूद हैं सिर्फ सुने ही है, बेटा नहीं सुनना नहीं है, आपने समझा भी है, मैंने मेहनत की है, आपने भी की है, राइट? 2 hours per week. So my dear students, likewise in ATP में भी क्वेश्चन आते हैं related to metals. रिएक्टिविटी सीरीज पे जो एक्सपेरिमेंट दिए हैं इस तरह के आते हैं. My dear, this is the homework. Now, how am I going to assess this homework? Now listen. Now the point, the last 2-3 minutes, then I'll say goodbye. From Monday onwards, till the next